Hello, I'm Stormo, and I'm here to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online. Particularly in light to the news that ZeniMax have announced that they will be allowing you to play Elder Scrolls Online without a subscription. That will happen from March the 17th this year, and it's a pretty significant change to the way the game has operated up to this point, primarily because it will introduce a new store aspect to the game that will require a new currency called crowns. Now, if you're familiar with free-to-play MMOs, you're probably familiar with the idea that they have these currency type things that you essentially pay real money for, and you gain access to this currency, which you can then use to purchase on items and in-game boosts and various other bits and pieces. Now, sometimes the games give away items that make it much easier to play the game. Other times, however, they don't do that. Now, I've actually gone entirely the wrong way to where I want to go here, so... But yeah. If you're an existing subscriber, however, you will be given a premium subscription to the game. And the premium subscription gives you access to these boosts as well as various other bits and pieces. And it's a really interesting approach that very few games have done. Basically, think of the Guild Wars 2 business model, but think of it with...
Need passage between Auridon and Grotwood?
Think of the Guild Wars 2 business model, but think of it with the additional option of being able to pay a subscription for a more premium experience. The premium experience, aside from giving you boosts to leveling and the crowns, which is the name of this currency they're adding, you also will get access apparently to all of the downloadable content that's going to be coming for this game in the future. Now, I'm not 100% familiar with the plan for downloadable content to this game. ZeniMax have been pretty good with keeping the game updated since it launched last year, and it's surprisingly rich in content at this point, even though it's actually relatively young for an MMO. Now, of course, anytime a game announces it's going free to play, there's a lot of, shall we say, angst in the community, and Elder Scrolls Online is no exception to that. It's probably going to lead to a certain amount of community anger, particularly for players who've been long-time subscribers and supporters of this game. I have been a subscriber to Elder Scrolls Online since it launched on Steam last year, so I think that's more than 6 months ago now, and I have had a continuous subscription in that time. Now, that said, I haven't actually played a huge amount of that game. My highest level character is only 31, primarily because I play other games as well, but I sort of wanted to maintain my subscription mostly in support of the game, rather than just because... I just have to see where I'm going. Yep, I'm going the right way. Okay, so I've had to maintain a subscription to the game since then, mostly because I felt like I wanted to support this game. I'm a big fan of the Elder Scrolls games in general, and I like what ZeniMax have been doing with Elder Scrolls Online. As you can probably tell from this video, it's an absolutely beautiful looking game. We're walking around an area called Auridon, which is an island off the coast of the main continent of Tamriel, and I am playing a Wood Elf, in case you're wondering, or Bosma, as they're referred to in the game. So I'm a huge fan of the Elder Scrolls, and I wanted to support this game. The moment I heard they were making an Elder Scrolls MMO, I was sort of in two minds about it. Firstly, I was worried that they wouldn't be able to pull it off. And secondly, I was worried that they wouldn't be able to make it feel like an Elder Scrolls game. Now, I had the fortune to get into the beta of this game early last year when it first... Well, early last year when it was going through its public beta phase, and I wasn't overly impressed by the game. I wrote an article for a website I write for at the time that basically pointed out that this game didn't feel like an Elder Scrolls game. It was like there are problems. I have gone completely the wrong way. I'm trying to follow that quest marker up there, and I've completely gone the wrong way for it. As you probably can tell from the chat window, I may obscure the chat window in this video, so you may not be able to read it, but I'm looking at it right now, and there's a lot of talk about the free-to-play model this game's using in that. I really hope you guys can hear the music too, because this game does have fantastic music, like all the previous Elder Scrolls games, or at least the last couple of Elder Scrolls games have all had fantastic music. And this game, I really enjoy wandering around as well. So, with that in mind, I didn't really want to play the game when it first came out. And then it came up on Steam, and I thought, you know what, it's half price, I'll pay it, I'll play for the free 30 days. And I will probably hate it, but hey, it's a good excuse to check out how the game is evolving. So I did that, and I found myself basically playing it constantly. I have about 300 hours of playtime on this game now in my Steam profile. So yeah, I feel like I've got my money's worth out of it, even with paying those subscriptions. As you can tell from what I'm doing here, the lack of a minimap can be a little bit confusing in this game. You sort of have to get familiar with these areas. So yeah. Overall, I personally feel that what ZeniMax are doing with this game is going to ensure its future for better or worse. I think that the model they've chosen, which as I said before is similar to games like Guild Wars 2 and The Secret World, with a premium subscription, is not a terrible model. And I've gone the wrong way again. So, you get to see all these towns on the way down to where I'm actually going, which is at the bottom of this isle. I can quick travel, but I really don't like quick traveling in this game. It's something I don't like doing in any Elder Scrolls game. I like the exploration, and I like the journey. And especially in these games where that journey is big and long and able to give you this real experience. One thing that does bother me with this game, and you can see it as we come around here, is the draw distance I feel is a little bit short. You might think it's quite long, but there's certain zones where you really start to notice how short it actually is. This zone isn't one of them, but there are points where you can see just how short it is. Okay, we're going to take this long way around. I know where I'm going, guys, it's okay, I've played through this zone before. So yeah, and you can see the map, you can see all the exploration points I've had in the map. That's a dolmen. Sorry, I've just got to take the map off just so I can steer. That's a public dungeon, is what that is. And the various other aspects on there. So, yeah, so the game has a lot to explore and experience, and I really like that. I really like the approach ZeniMax have taken with this game. It's the first time since the original Elder Scrolls Arena that the vast majority of Tamriel has been available. Not all of it, in fact, I'll show you just quickly. This is what's available. So you've got the 3 factions, and they each have 3 zones. We're down here in this zone, which is these zones that I'm just highlighting now. Just got to be... Hopefully I've made the right decision. No, I haven't. I've gone backwards. So yeah, that's right, we go through these ruins. I'm taking a really roundabout way to get where I want to go, but yeah. So those ghosts won't attack me because I've done the quest in this area and it makes them neutral once you complete the quest. Questing in this game is really fun. It relies heavily on phasing, which does create the issue where if you're trying to quest with others in a group, you all sort of need to be at the same point in a quest to be able to stay grouped together. Otherwise the phasing will catch you out and you'll end up being in a group with players you can't otherwise interact with. It's not usually a huge issue, and they have taken steps to improve that at various points, but it is something to be aware of as you play this game. So, okay, we're coming up here now. I'm not going to go on to the next phase of the quest, which is where I talk to, I've forgotten his name, the prophet guy that you talk to that gives you the main storyline quest of this game. This is an MMO, but it is still very heavily story focused. In fact, I'd argue it's one of the most story focused Elder Scrolls games, which is a bit weird saying that about something that's an MMO. But if you're familiar with previous Elder Scrolls games, you sort of know that the story tends to be told in a very sort of background kind of way. Like, there's all this stuff happening and you go and you do quests and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately it often feels like the story is advancing without, well, not so much without your ability to progress it, but that the story is advancing at a rate where your character isn't actively participating in it. And I feel this game sort of gets around that a bit, which is a bit weird to say because, as I said, this is an MMO, and MMO storytelling is, at the best of times, not the greatest thing. but I feel like in Elder Scrolls Online, it's working out really well. So the faction I'm playing, there are 3 factions in the game. The faction I'm playing here is the Old Mary Dominion, which you might remember that term from Skyrim if you played that game. That's basically the High Elves, and in this game their allies, the Wood Elves and the Khajiit, who are the cat people, tiger people, those guys. So yeah, so I'm just going to come around here to the Harborage, and I'll probably stop this video there. I've said mostly what I want to say. My personal feeling is that ZeniMax are making the right decision, even if the player base isn't going to necessarily agree with that. I think the pure subscription model was going to hurt this game in the long run, primarily because this was such an expensive game to make. I've heard it said that this is probably one of the most expensive video games ever made, if not the most expensive. And for it to be profitable, it was going to need to maintain World of Warcraft-like subscription numbers, and I don't think this game was ever going to get that, especially not in a world now where the kind of success World of Warcraft experienced originally, I don't think can really happen anymore. So, you know, this is where we were going. We'll just dismount, and we'll load this up. So yeah, I don't think this game was ever going to be able to maintain World of Warcraft-like subscription numbers. One thing I would wish they'd fix is the load times on this game. It takes a long time to do zone loads, and especially the initial load when you log into the game can take a very long time. So yeah, so there's some of my thoughts on the Elder Scrolls Online, and some of my views on where I think it's going. My character was moving really funny there for some reason. Yeah, she's walking really oddly. So those are my views on how this game's working out and what I think ZeniMax are doing right and what they're doing wrong. I think overall this ensures the future of the Elder Scrolls Online, and hopefully from here we see all of the rest of Tamriel added.